The opinions expressed on the following audio program are solely those of the host and the guests. Burner Podcast is an independently produced, not-for-profit show and is not associated with the Burning Man organization or its subsidiaries. The views expressed are not representative of the entire Burning Man community and are presented here for entertainment purposes only. In short, calm the fuck down. It's just a podcast.
Episode number 26. It is 269 days till the man burns as of this recording. It is with a heavy heart that we start today's show. A good friend of the San Diego community and of the community as a whole has passed away and moved on to the other plane of existence, or however spiritual belief you have about it, or if you don't as well. Her name was Cher. She was known as Cher. I always try to pronounce this correctly. Puanonua. I've always not been able to say that right. I believe it means a place of refuge. Cher and her partner Touch really are really amazing people. Touch is someone who you may have heard referenced on the show many times. If you're in San Diego, of course you know them very, very well. But Cher passed on. It looks like it was yesterday. Found out about it today, and she was a leader. She was an activist. She was involved in multiple communities. Touch, if you're not in the San Diego community, you may recognize him as the person who you spoke with if you went through the human carcass wash at Burning Man. If you've been through that, Touch is the amazing individual who runs that. And it was his partner, Cher, who passed away. And she really was an amazing individual and really touched a lot of people in the San Diego community. So it's definitely affected a lot of us here to learn of that. And it was very sudden. But there was some health problems, and she is no longer with us here. Again, as I like to say, on this plane of existence, that is my spiritual understanding of the world. It doesn't have to be yours, but I just wanted to mention that. And I would like to take just a moment of silence right now to recognize her, and we're going to do that right now for just a minute. But let's get on with today's show. We're going to be spending a lot of today's episode on Playa, really talking about how things work out there. It's definitely one of those Burning Man specific episodes of the podcast. And our guest today is Knotty Boy. We know him around here in San Diego as Richie, but Knotty Boy, it's spelled Knotty, by the way. It's a reference to a rope knot, is my understanding. Sort of a Navy throwback type thing. I could be wrong. I could totally just be making that up, as I often do with a lot of things on this show. But Knotty Boy is today's guest, and he was the Gate Road Supervisor. That was the official title for Burning Man 2015 and 2014. Previous to that, he was the co-lead for San Diego's regional burn, Utopia. So he spends the majority of his time here in San Diego, but he does travel to multiple festivals working with High Rock Security, which you'll hear referenced on the upcoming interview with Knotty Boy that's going to come in after this opening music part. When Bob and I were on Playa together, Bob, who you'll remember is the current Utopia co-lead, who's been on the show a couple of times, we happened to be hanging out at the Hole with Knotty Boy, having some drinks, and then I don't know how the subject came up of like, hey, let's go do a tour. And before we know it, we're out there and we're on top of this watchtower, which is like 3 stories tall, looking at that massive line of people coming in to Black Rock City. It is really an amazing experience. And while we were going through it, I was immediately thinking like, I have to get Knotty Boy on the show, and we have to get some background info on how all of this works, because I hope that's interesting to you, dear listener. It's interesting to me because I'm a geek of logistics and I find this shit incredibly fascinating. So there it is. We're going to get into it with the interview with Knotty Boy, Gate Road Supervisor for Burning Man. And who knows, next year, beyond, something even more important. So either way, I go by Mr. Arash, even though nobody calls me Mr. Welcome to Burner Podcast.
On the first part of the journey, I was looking at all the life. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was sand and hills and rain. The first thing I met was the fly with the balls and the sky with no clouds. The heat was hot and the ground was dry, but the air was full of sound. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can't remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no name.
For years, and it's privacy in the restroom, which for the most part is not an issue because all of our friends are fucking hippies. So like,
Yeah, right.
so as soon as I start to like describe to somebody, like they're like, "Where's the restroom?" I'm like, "Look, it's right there." The door has like zero privacy because it's a converted closet. So if you want me to step outside while you, and then as I'm saying that, they're already peeing. They're like, "What was that?" So, and it's funny because like, so I'm looking for a new place, and I had sent out like all these emails to different landlords for a couple of locations, and I was saying in the email like, "Hey, single, non-smoking, good income, yada yada, looking for a place so I can cook more often. That's the only reason I'm moving. Been living here for like 4 years, yada yada." So I sent out that email, right? And then so a couple of places said, "All right, sounds fantastic. Let's have you fill out an official application." So then I pull up my actual rental agreement from here, and it turns out I've been living here like 2 years. So I've had like so much shit happen in 2 years that I was like convinced that I'd been living here 4 years. That's like insane.
Yeah, well, I guess when you got a lot going on, you just think that so much, time.
Does it feel like as you get older, like more shit happens?
There was a point, I think, between 30 to 40 that it felt like more shit was happening.
Mm-hmm.
But when you hit 40, you kind of realize...
You're 40?
I'm 44.
44!
Yeah.
Never guessed in a million years.
When you get to a certain point, you get into your 40s, you start realizing that, like, time is just going by so fast, period.
Yeah.
That, because you are doing a lot, so that's kind of what we strive for, to live, do our thing our way, live our life the way we want to live them. So then you just kind of, next thing you know, it's like, wow, I've been here for this long, or I've done this for this long, and you don't realize it sometimes. But I definitely think between 30 and 40, you just kind of go for this stage where you're like, oh my God, I've got so much to do. How do I do all this?
Yeah.
By the time you're 40, you know how to do all of it, and you're getting really good at it. But then all of a sudden, you're just like, where is time going? It's just gone.
What would be like if you could go back in time and talk to...
In my time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go back in time, like you have a magic machine. Like it's a DeLorean.
In my life I could go back to? Or
No, let's say to your 30-year-old you. You go back to 30-year-old Knotty Boy and you're like, here's some advice, man. And I got this one piece of advice I got to give you, and this is important shit. Take this in and execute this, and my life's going to be way better.
At 30, I just moved to San Diego. Oh, wow. Had a lot going on then.
Where'd you come from?
Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah. It's hard. I think I'd probably tell myself that I'd go to Burning Man earlier. Go to Burning Man now. Don't wait till you're almost 40. So
was that what brought you into the community initially? Your first burn?
No, actually, I felt like I'd been a part of the community for a long time because I used to own a little underground bar called the Honey Beehive, and it was some friends of mine were burners from back in like 2000.
Wait, here in San Diego?
Yeah, here in San Diego.
By City College?
Yeah.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
I've had many.
Lounge.
Yeah, I've had multiple friends like perform there.
Yeah, I was the one who did all the bookings.
Wow.
I ran the place pretty much back then until we switched over to sushi, and then like I just became like a working owner.
Do you I don't suppose you remember hip hop act named Diego Brown.
Yeah, yeah, they played it. They actually played it our night.
Yeah.
Vinyl Elements.
So
with
Chris, who you probably was the one you're dealing with, that's my creative partner.
Right on.
That's who I host Crappy Awesome with.
Yeah, actually, when they played at an event that my crew. That's how I got into the Honeybee Hive, because I was, getting into DJing with some friends from Arizona, and we started DJing out here, and that whole snowball that happened was pretty amazing in my life.
That's fucking amazing.
Yeah, became an owner of a bar, and then we turned into a venue, and then the venue thing, we did that for about 6 years, and then city wasn't too stoked on us.
Why is that?
It was just conservative talk. We, of course, we had way too many people inside that place than we were supposed to many times, but we never got in trouble for anything. We kept our nose clean, but we were like, all right, we got to come up with something different that's going to actually make this business legitimate, because it really wasn't making any money for the bar. I mean, the bar wasn't making money. As a bartender, I was doing good, but as the bar, it wasn't doing good. So we needed to keep them doors open. So we turned it into a sushi restaurant. But
I remember that.
Yeah, but once I got into in the Beehive days, we had some friends that were involved in the burner community. A buddy of mine, Dennis Pappenfuss, Rabbit.
Yeah.
Like a brother. He got me. He was like,
it's a great last name,
started doing events at the bar, and was like, hey, I'm doing this thing that you got to come check out, and it was called Elysium, and I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, it's all like a total Burning Man kind of thing, you got to come check it out. And I didn't go the first year, and then the second year, he was like, dude, how about if we're going to have a bar, I want you to run the bar. And I got out there, and we had this mushroom bar. I think we actually used it for the entrance for the Utopia gate entrance for a few years. Okay. But back in the day when we first made it, we had that. And it was fun. I had a great time running the bar there. It was great, and did that for about 3 or 4 years, and was doing all these burner events locally, and was familiar with I lived in San Francisco for a while, and I'd always been familiar with burners and what they were going on, but I'd never been to Burning Man.
Yeah, I
always felt like I don't need to go there. I'm like, I know all about it. I party with all the people. I do all the things they do. I'm down for their philosophies.
Yeah,
that's just an expensive thing to go in a shitty environment. Why would I want to go there?
Yeah. And
it was never conducive to my work either, because where I worked, the Honeybee Hive, it was right across the street from City College, and that's when school starts. Is we're at the same time Burning Man's going on, so I couldn't go.
Yeah.
Finally came across some money from a settlement one year, and was like, fuck it, I'm going to Burning Man. I'm just gonna do it. And I only went for 3 days. I left on Wednesday, and got out there late Wednesday night, and came home on Sunday afternoon. So I didn't really get the full stint of it, but I was like, wow, this is really awesome. I'm going to come back and do this. And came back, did it again, and had a blast with it. But
what changed? What was it about it? When you actually went out there to Playa, what was the epiphany that you had? Oh, okay, now I get it.
Shit. After being awake for 20 some hours for the drive, not going, or actually I was awake even longer than that, because I got off work at 2 a.m. from bartending to get in a car to drive all the way out straight to Burning Man, which was, and then wait in line. So it was a long day. It ended 2 days. I was wide awake because I was keeping the drivers awake, because at the time I didn't have my license, so I couldn't drive. And we get there, and half the camp, all my friends were already there, and it was just Drama City going on, and I was excited to want to get there, and I was trying to get people to go do things, and I was like, screw this, I got a bike, I'm going to go out and check out Playa. It was dark, but I wanted to go out and find a friend somewhere else, and went over to a buddy's camp that I knew his address, and found him, and he's like, hey, have you been out to the Playa yet? And I went, no, not yet. He's like, oh, it's just right around the corner, because he was on A and 9 o'clock, and we ended up walking over to the Esplanade, and I remember just my jaw dropping when I saw it, and I was like, I had no fucking clue.
Yeah.
That's all I could think. It's all I could say to my friend. It was like, I had no clue. I thought I knew. I had swore up and down, and I hear the same story from many people. They all swear that they know that what they're expecting when they get out there, and they get there, and they're like, nah, man.
Yeah.
It was like Mickey Mouse and Disneyland had sex with Vegas, and they were doing way too much acid at the same time when it happened. That was how I visualized my explanation of what I saw.
That's perfect.
There, and I was like, so after that, I was like,
And what year was this, by the way?
that was 2010.
So you were how old?
11. 2010 and 11.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you're-
2011.
Okay, so you're how old then?
39, 40.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would have been the advice. Yeah, that makes sense. Your advice: go to Burning Man
Good
sooner.
Burning Man Certain, because I definitely feel like the community that I've been involved with since I was doing Utopia before I ever been to Burning Man. It just all worked out. And that it just kind of progressed into like, okay, I need to go and like get really my education under the belt. I wanted to go to say I went. Didn't think I was ever going to go back. Then I went back the next year because I wanted to like get the full experience of a full week. And then I was there and I was like, okay, next year I want to do something. I either need to build art, I need to be involved in a theme camp, or I need to volunteer. Something. I need to do something this next year because, I always felt like I needed to upgrade what I was involved in myself in there. So,
Yeah. I remember I was at Spanky's, my first burn, and we are having a conversation with Christopher Robin. And it's just like we're talking. It's like, oh yeah, it's first burn. There's like a silence, and he just looks at me. He's like, "You're fucked." I'm like, "What? Why?" He's like, "Now you're in. Now you can't not come back."
I've never met anybody that said that went once and said, I don't think I'll ever go back.
Yeah, I feel like.
But I think those are the people. If there was to somebody that I met that said that, they probably weren't into that to begin with.
Totally. Yeah, because I'm certain there are people that. Well, for one thing, there's logistics issues. Like you might have. Like somebody that lives in Japan.
Yeah.
That makes it out to like one burn.
That's right.
And then we're not going to run into them again out and about.
Correct, yeah.
And then in addition to that, I would imagine we also have the people that are like, nope, not for me, probably go right back into whatever circles they're normally in, and we're not going to run into them again. So, yeah, no, if once you're in, you're in. Like it's pretty difficult to like leave.
Yeah. I'm getting more and more involved every year, and I love it. It's hard because now my involvement is like 7 weeks long, being out there, not including the work that's done at home throughout the year.
So let's get into that here.
There's a lot of changes going on this year too that I'm anxiously waiting to hear what's going on
with BM.org.
Not morgue, but more of the department I work for with Burning Man.
Okay.
It's going through a lot of changes, but they seem to be, for the most part, positive changes. I mean, there's some that are raising eyebrows, but I take it they know what they're doing. They've been doing this a long time, so.
Yeah, I mean, we want change, but we don't want things to change.
Yeah,
that's like normal human wiring. So what was when did you get involved with Gate? What year was this?
That was. This will be my. I've done 3 years with them now, so 2012 was my first year volunteering. Volunteered and ended up working with logistics department, for them, which worked out because I was already doing logistics with Utopia.
And what goes into that basically
At Burning Man?
Sure. Well, give me both Utopia and Burning Man.
Well, logistics in general is just basically you're laying the foundation down. You're putting the canvas together. For people always say, "Oh, we provide the canvas and you do the artwork." Well, this is how we provide the canvas. We have to put all that shit together. Whether it's Burning Man, it's my main responsibility the last 2 years. Which after my first year of volunteering, I sent in a resume to get promoted to a management position that was looking for more logistics managements, and they made me the gate road supervisor, which basically meant it was my responsibility to build a road 4.5 miles to like specifications that were BLM certified and everything else, traffic and dot and whatever, that there was a lot that goes into that, throughout a year planning of it, like just you're building a winding road that has a purpose
Yeah.
You know, to be windy, you know, for wind purposes and blocking the gate so they don't get, you know, blasted with the wind with the traffic, you know, from the vehicles moving. That's why there's turns,
Yeah.
you know. Plus, you know, you got to have a place to store all those people in their will call lots, and it's a lot of work building that road. Trust me, it's your first week out there.
This is so. I'm sorry. You're talking 2015 right now, correct?
Yeah, well, last 2 years is
Last
what
years.
we've been doing. Yeah,
Okay.
the last 2 years, that's what I've been. My responsibility has been is
So I want to get into that, but I want to go back to the beginning here.
Okay.
So your first year volunteering with Gate, sort of, what was the capacity of your volunteering at that time?
I basically got there a week pre-burn, and basically, actually, our first day there was what they call early burn. It's kind of something special that before they open the gates to let all our theme camps in, and you know the early arrivals. That Saturday, all the departments that have been working there throughout the pre-build, they all build like little effigies, which was kind of fun because I was a part of building our effigy this year for our department, but all the departments do like a burn. You know, they have it'll be funny, you know, pertaining to their department and the fireworks and everything. So it's like you feel like you're getting to see a side of Burning Man that no one else gets to see, which is really nice because it's a little bit more personal. You know, it's not the 70,000 crazy people, you know, where you feel like half of them are just because it's a bucket list thing now.
Yeah.
But we got out there a week early, did help. I was assisting building the road, so that's kind of how I was able to get into the position the following years, because I assisted the main guy, Blue Cross, who was our ultimate designer for that road for many years, and then he was going to be leaving, so he kind of like showed me a lot how to do it. And so if there was and then I did a lot of gate positions, you know, working the gate and the lanes throughout the event. I also did some flagging, which is basically the people that work out on the highways, you know, stop traffic, you know, guide them through the gas stations and all that.
And how much training do they kind of give you before you go out there and do this stuff?
Well, the training, you don't have, I mean, logistics, there's no training. Basically just you come in if they know that you have experience.
Yeah.
Gate, to work the gate in the lanes, we had to go through a training class, and then we go out there, and then they do a mentorship with you, you know, guide you through it. You have a mentor that is basically teaching you while you're working in the lanes for a whole shift. And then after that, you get kind of like put in, you know, on your own, but definitely people are watching over you. You know, you have people that you report into. There's quite a chain of command that goes on amongst our department. You know, there was just like lane leads, department leads. You know, all this all the way up in our department. I mean, I found out last year, Gate volunteer alone has 700 volunteers.
Wow.
I mean, that's twice the size of the volunteers all for Utopia.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's just our department. So, I mean, that's not including DPW. And our department is one of the few departments at Burning Man outside of DPW that is there from the Golden Spike on building with DPW. We're basically DPW, but we're Gate department. But we do all the DPW stuff. We help go out and build the perimeter of that fence. You know, it's 10 miles around, putting up the string, then putting up the fencing, you know, pounding the T-stakes. And then all the intersections our crew helps do. And then they come in and help us out a little bit when we do our pounding all the T-stakes on Gate Road. So there's a lot of camaraderie between the two. You know, we call it GatePW.
yeah.
Or they're Gate for, or DPW's Gate for Gate. You know, that there's like we work with them throughout the whole time, so you get to know them pretty well. But that was my first year. It was just mostly volunteering. I worked at 3 different areas, you know, and then the next year came up and people, you know, there were some positions open that were above, and I was like, wow, I've got to do 3 different things here. I have opportunity, you know.
And how do you find out about the positions?
Once you're a part of our department has a gate list that, you know, they send you out emails constantly letting you know what's going on in the department, you know, if any job positions are available, you know, what's going on at the headquarters, you know, Gate sponsored events that they're doing in the Bay Area. You know, predominantly most of the Gate department is in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
so they're always doing things. So they're always letting us know what's going on through their emails. Definitely no lack of communication going on.
Yeah. And so you get past, because I know like there's usually some confusion, I'm sure it is with most people about like sort of who gets paid and who doesn't. I imagine like it does get involved with like what level of responsibility is placed on you versus like volunteering, which is like, all right, here's your shift, you're working the door, now you can go back to party.
Yeah, there was a huge change this last year where a lot of people that were doing, I mean, when you're out there for 7 weeks, and you have a lot of responsibility on your shoulders, it makes sense that they pay people now.
Sure.
I mean, I feel that Utopia's in a position where their event leads, people that are working a year-round job, should get some sort of compensation or some sort of, pay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of responsibility involved, and when you have that, I want to say money sometimes is like the signing contract of your responsibility. Like, hey, you could say I'm a responsible person, but when you're volunteering, ultimately you're just a volunteer.
Totally.
If you decide to back out or whatever, it's, oh well, But if you're getting paid for it, people feel like they know that like he's getting paid. Mm-hmm. He's gonna handle his shit. Yeah. Like he's or else he's not getting paid.
Yeah. It's a covenant. Yeah, it's a contract.
Some of these things that we do that there's just no way you could do on a volunteer basis. Mm-hmm. I mean, Burning Man, I was working 10 hours a day, averaging 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I basically had 2 days off out of 7 weeks that I was there.
It's insane.
Which was one more day off than I got the year before. Yeah. There's just a lot of, and it's one of those things that you're complaining about it because you're tired and you want to go do something, but in reality, like I would have ended up working anyways, probably if I'd had the day off, because it's just when you're out there, that's how how I end up having fun is I'm going out there, making shit happen, fixing problems, making it a better, environment or a better space or a better, done better,
Yeah. No, there's definitely a personality type that is wired to do this kind of work. We've seen that over and over. Like if you're very much like the punch in, punch out clock watcher type, like it's probably not your world.
Yeah. And, there's fortunately we don't have very much of that come around. And if you do, you spot it right away, and those people don't come back. They're not asked to come back. Like I was very fortunate this year. I got to take out a couple brand newbies who've never ever even been to Burning Man, and they were out there with me from the Golden Spike on. Yeah. And people at the Golden Spike were like, usually that's a small thing. This year was like one of the bigger ones they've had. I think they had like 60 people out there, and that was like way bigger than they've ever had. Yeah. And people were coming up and asking my friends, that I brought with me, and they're like, who are you? I don't know you. And, they're like, oh, I'm Nice Catch, or I'm, Too Tight. And
I met both of them that night, I believe.
You did at the Black Hole Bar, yeah. And they, people were really raised eyebrows going, wow, brand newbies coming out here. Like, that's usually unheard of, because usually to even get in these kinds of positions, you have to have been there many years to have worked and proven yourself and whatnot. And, I was very fortunate that they had faith in me to let me bring out a couple newbies, but it was a good thing because these guys kicked ass.
Yeah.
They were solid, and
I spent very little time with them, but I remember they had the right spirit.
Oh yeah, they were having a ball. Yeah. I mean, if you can get them away from playing Magic when they weren't, I was like, you're in Burning Man, what the hell are you doing? But no, I mean, honestly, like it's starting to go that route where volunteerism is kind of changed in a sense of it's not people who just want to go and be a part of something now. It's like, go and be a part of something and own it, and own what you do and rock it, being able to, I've done so many events where they're relied heavily on volunteer. Almost all festivals, believe it or not, are being relying on a huge volunteer basis to make their event run, and
if they paid every single person, nobody would be able to afford to go to the festival.
And the festival wouldn't make any money. Both, it'd be very expensive, and it works out in a sense, but unfortunately you get some of those people who are just doing it because it's cheaper. Some people who are doing it because they want to be a part of it, but they want to be a part of it because it's a fun party. Then you get some of those people who just want to be a part of doing something amazing, and I've gotten to volunteer with a few different festivals throughout my time, and enjoyed it because I got to like work with some amazing artists, some amazing people who are creating really cool things, and I got to learn. You know, it got me to a point where now I can, you know, go and handle a crew, running a crew in an event, or, you know, or doing different things because I feel like that, you know, I had good guidance. I've worked with good people who've, you know, showed me like, hey, it's all about the community. It's, you know, it's about the art, you know, it's about the togetherness and doing this together. And that's been fun. And that's kind of what got me into Burning Man. And it's made me, I think, a better person, want to say, because of the community side of it. You know, like I'm much more family community based than I've ever been before.
Yeah, I don't think anybody comes into the community and says, "Oh, this has just made me such a piece of shit." Like I used to be such a sweet person, and
I was like,
this just took me down a hellhole. Wait, let me. So I guess I'm wondering. We're gonna do a quick flashback right now, and then I want to get into sort of like when you start and what that process is like. What was it in your upbringing and in your background, and perhaps in your family, and your personality and the experiences you've had that you think attracted you to this kind of work that brought you to where you are today?
Probably my stepdad. You know, he was always a do-it-yourself kind of guy. He was always a don't half-ass anything kind of guy. Well, at least that was the way he told me. Don't half-ass anything.
What did he do? What was his professional background?
Well, his professional background, he was a striving actor. Made enough money to survive and live. Never was ever famous. You know, type of thing. And but he was home all the time. He had to work like 3 days a year. You know, but he was home all the time, so he was the one who was around all the time. And we were always fixing something to the house, or we built our house, but you know, when I was a kid, when we moved to Riverside, we built our own home. So you had the artist seed planted pretty early on. Yeah, you know, just always building, doing, you know, making things happen. You know, was always kind of where I've been. But it's weird because wasn't really involved in the whole family side. We were like kind of the black sheep of the family. So now it's like being a part of the burner community. I have a huge group of friends that I call family because they've been like family, closer than family, you know, and I think that's where it's changed. It's because up until, like you said, you know, if I could go back when I was 30, that's why I said, if I could go back when I was 20, I was like, should have gone back when it was in 85, you know, just so that way I could have been involved in with people that are community based, you know, and that were about family and, you know, taking care of one another, you know, looking out for each other and different things. Yeah. You know, you look for that in friends normally, but when you have a community that does that, it's really nice.
Yeah, I definitely, I've had the same kind of experience too, because I look at, like I realized, I was just reflecting on this just the other day about how historically I have the kind of personality where I'd gotten to a place where I would just like, if somebody was rubbing me the wrong way, or if I just felt like they didn't have my best interest at heart or whatever, I'd just turn around and walk away. Like, out of my life, out you go.
Yep.
But when you are part of a family and you do have other people that perhaps do connect with that person, they're there.
You gotta work it out. Yeah, you gotta figure it out. It's something that I have to deal with that a lot. I live in a household of 7 people right now, and we're all burners. I mean, like for a point there, I think every single one of the people in our house at one point, we were all leads at Utopia. You know, we were in each other's face all the time, and we were all different personalities and have different friends. And
that's they'd come a reality show right there.
Oh yeah, it's real world shit. Yeah, real world Escondido, baby.
Oh my god.
Yeah. But it's great though. I mean, and it's nice to have to like confront your issues that you have with certain people, because like, you know, when somebody says, "Oh, what are your issues?" Those are your issues. Those are things that you need to handle. So it's nice to like have to grow up, deal with it, you know, get over it, you know, work it out, hug it out if you have to. Yeah. But yeah,
I don't know if it was Ramdas that said this, but it was like something like, you know, like it's something like, "Oh, you think you're enlightened? Like, go spend some time with your family."
Yeah.
You know, it's easier to only be around yes men. But yeah, so let's skip back to your first year now taking on as logistics. So what is the official title? What?
Gate Road Supervisor.
Gate Road Supervisor. Okay. So How long before the Golden Spike do you go out there?
It's usually a couple days after Golden Spike.
Okay.
We went out there Golden Spike because it was just a couple days after. So we figured we wanted to go experience that and then have a day to acclimate and then go to work. That's pretty much how it was.
So you get out there and then like park your car. Where are you staying? Are you popping up a tent? Where are you
our first week we're in Gerlach. First year they put us in,
which is the weirdest name for a city like ever, by the way.
Yeah.
It sounds like
just as weird of a little community.
Yeah. What are they like? Like, or how do they feel about you guys? Do you have a gist of that?
It seems like the majority of them hate it. I don't know. Like I said, when I was doing the flagging thing my first year, I had to deal with a lot of the locals at the gas station, and a lot of them hated it. You know, they were just like, ugh. I think they knew they needed it for their economic state, but I just don't think they hate it. Yeah. I mean, they live out in that middle of nowhere because they don't want to be around people, you know. Yeah,
and then here there's this thing that keeps growing.
Yeah,
because that's what the new sheriff this year that was like really cracking down.
Yeah,
I remember his exact quote was, "Burning Man brings nothing but heartache to Gerlach." To Gerlach, I think he said, or to the county.
To the county.
Yeah,
you mentioned he said the whole county.
Yeah,
I don't know about heartache.
Yeah,
or any of that stuff because ain't nobody hurting for financial afterwards. I mean, now you go to Bruno's Diner during burn week or pre-burn. Man, they're the nicest people on the planet. I mean, like, honestly, and all the store owners, like the gas station guy, everybody there, they were all really nice and helpful and great. There's just a few people that are, you know, that come through and they're and those are the ones you hear. So you figure that most people don't like it. But
the loud minority.
Like I said, sometimes it just feels that way. You know, there was some issues with, you know, fire marshal one year and they weren't, you know, somebody was complaining that was on their fire department there about one of the operations that was going on or something, and it was basically stemming from the fact that this guy every year he's always something about these burners here, you know, which is sad because I mean I could think of a lot worse things that could be going through people's towns and
than a hurricane of hippies.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you know, the main goal is to have a better society and a clean environment and a healthy, you know, environment of just good people being around. And I don't blame them though, man. You try to drive through Gerlach during the burn. It's a drag, especially if you live there.
No, I mean, I'm sure even for a lot of them, it's like it's a duality. Like on one hand, they're irritated because they've had a long day and they're just trying to get home. And then, but at the same time, they're aware of the big picture of like how this has helped them. Right. So even if somebody's venting and being a dick one day, it doesn't necessarily reflect how they feel about overall the presence.
Well, Burning Man's there for good 3 months out of the year, like with a solid crew of people. There's economic value coming into that community for a good period of time. You know, I mean, the whole month that we're there beforehand, you know, people are eating at the diner. They're, you know, eating. You know, they're drinking at the other bars. I mean, there is a bar there that's a DPW bar, which is dangerous. Like, there's just,
at Gerlach.
Yeah,
there's a DPW bar in Gerlach.
That's what we run. That's the bar that's open during build week. Because to rewind, you know, the first 10 days we're staying in this, you know. We stayed in little tiny trailers that were busted down trailers, and we call them the DPW trailers. This year we stayed in, it was a bunkhouse, and it was a nightmare. It was like boot camp, like all over again for 10 days. You were sleeping in bunks, like racks of people, and they had like probably 30 racks in each one. So there was 60 to 100 people in this. Somebody brought their dog, you know, nobody had places to put their shit. So like everybody's like personal gear, like all of our gear was stacked outside everywhere. Cause we brought our mini fridge, you know, so stuff. You're going to be out there for some time, you know, we like brought all of our comforts, you know, no place to put it, you know, then you get up at 5 a.m. to go to work, get to drive all the way out to the playa, go work all day, go drive all the way back into town to go to eat, go all the way back out to go do some more work. By the time you get off, you know, it's just about to get dark, you know, and there's nothing really to do. Yeah. So you go to the DPW bar. and you get fucking hammered.
So what is the structure of the DBW bar? Is it an actual bar?
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's like it's the what the hell do they call it? It's the saloon. I mean, you can't miss it when you're driving in.
Okay.
You know, it's like the nicest thing there.
And is that open year round?
No. It's open like during resto. It's open during pre-burn.
Okay.
But during burn week, it's closed. It's because it's not operational because DPW is all on Playa.
Yeah.
But it's just like it's a place to just go and let everybody be safe, you know, and hang out and drink unless, you know, you're lucky enough to. You know, you could drive out to like Frog Pond or, you know, go to Squaw, go swimming in the lake or go out to Black Rock Desert. But for the most part, everybody just goes to the bar and drinks, plays pool.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a movie room. They got a ping pong table in the back. This year it's pretty busted though. But the pool table, they have an office, you know, they have a bar and the bar's stocked and it's like you know, it's all gratis. So you go in there and you just get hammered.
Oh man,
it's dangerous because you go to work the next day on the playa and you puke on the playa and it's just not good. Like everybody's done it once. It's worked out there pre-burn now.
Do the townspeople, do they come into the bar?
Every now and then. They kind of keep to their own. I mean, they have like their other bars they have like 2 other bars that are right next door that you know they just kind of hang out with. You know, that's their local bar.
Yeah.
They just kind of go to it. We try to go to their bars every now and then to help support a little bit, throw some money their way. But you know, of course, as much as you want to drink at the other bar, you know.
Yeah, it's hard to say no to free drinks.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where you know it's everybody hangs out and you're meeting and greeting and all that other jazz, and so it's a lot of fun. But after a while, you get kind of burned out. After 10 days, you're like, okay. Been to the bar again. All right. So then you're excited to move out on Playa. 10 days later, you move out on Playa.
What is the preliminary work that you've kind of gotten done in that 10 days?
Surveying.
Okay.
Surveying and getting in the shipping, like the containers.
Okay.
And a lot of the electrical, all that's usually done within the first 10 days.
Okay. And the bugs haven't shown up yet.
Oh no, the mosquitoes. Did you talk about this year?
Yeah.
This year, mosquitoes were there day one.
Okay.
And we were getting eaten the fuck up. It was sucked. Like gnarly. And you hit swarms of them.
Yeah.
I mean, this was even on Playa. We were having this problem. I've never seen them in Playa. I knew they were in Gerlach before.
Yeah.
They had the West Nile scare a couple years ago. But this year, like, we'd be out on Playa doing survey and you'd see wet spots still on the Playa because there was so much rain right before we got out there. But there was, like, puddles on the Playa still, and they were just infested with mosquitoes. You just get chewed up.
Okay, all right. So let's go back though to the before the mosquito days, and then we're gonna go back to this in a minute. Okay. So you're out there surveying. Afterwards,
with the mosquitoes, we're surveying.
Okay.
And then we get the shipping containers, all the power put in there, and then the bugs show up.
Okay.
And then it's Starship Trooper action. Yeah, it was just crazy.
Let's not get to the bugs yet. Let's go back to the year before when you weren't dealing with bugs yet. And then we're going to get to that.
Well, we move out on Playa, get the containers out there, power's out there. Commissary is finally built out there. You know, so you don't have to drive into town anymore for anything except for mail, maybe. But your day, you know, your days would probably be, you get up, you do your morning meeting at 7:00 in the morning, and you start going to work, and you work until lunch, and you got an hour for lunch, you know, meet back up and go back out. You work till about 5 or 6, depending on how much you need to get done, and it's always not enough time.
Yeah.
It's no matter what, you're like, fuck. Yeah. Like, how do we not, you know?
You're sleeping in trailers?
No, when we get to Playa, most people tent. You're in a tent or whatever. Fortunately, once I became management,
you're doing the quoties that the listeners can't see.
Yeah. And unfortunately, because I'm with Cylon, who also was getting into leadership positions and all that, we applied for a living container, which is basically a shipping container that they modify into like little rooms. Okay. And our room was 8x10. Okay. With a double-sized bed in it and a little tiny desk. Okay. With a light. Now, it was nice because they drywall it and it looks like a little, you know, it looks like a bedroom. Yeah. Just a tiny bedroom.
Yeah. Does it have air conditioning?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. That's like the key thing. Yeah. So, you know, and power. So, you know, you're pretty set up. You know, I feel a little pampered but spoiled. But I mean, like, even then, I'm like, man, after 7 weeks, it's like that thing just becomes feel like you're sleeping in a safe, you know,
Yeah.
like it's just not comfortable, you know. I couldn't imagine it. My buddies that did it in tents. I'm just like, ugh,
Yeah.
you know. Well, there was 2 of us in this, so it was tight, but it worked out.
Mm-hmm.
So we're out there for, you know, most people are in the tents, and you're still. You know, our crew breaks up into 3 different groups. You know, you're still building Gate Road. Gate Road is one of those tasks that you're building from the time you start survey until maybe the day before early burn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you know between surveying and then, you know, we place probably 5,000 of those little flags.
Mm-hmm.
You know, marker flags every 25 feet for the. No, I'm sorry, every 50 feet for the T stakes. And every 50 feet for the center line of the road. And the road is 16 lanes wide at one point, which I think is like one of the largest roads in the world, like for this point at the time of the year or whatever, like that fragment of the year. One-way traffic.
Okay.
I mean, it starts at 1 lane, goes out, shoots all the way out to 8 lanes, then it shoots out to, you know, I mean, then 16 lanes, and then back down to 8 lanes.
Wow.
You know, and it's all, you know, got to figure it out with GPS and your map points and mathematics, and, you know, you're using a transit.
Is it you're figuring out the GPS?
Well, I mean, because it's got to be cohesive to, like, where it's going to meet for the greeters at the city.
Yeah.
You know, so you're out there with GPS and trying to figure out where you're at and you know, dropping pins just because that way you know where your turns are and where you're putting. Then once after that, it's just measuring. I mean, we must have had 8 of those measuring wheels out there this year, and the measuring tapes that are on the spools that are like 300 feet long. And they just get destroyed by the end of every burn because they get used so much and all the playa dust in them. And it's like everything's measurements out there. You know, you're building a city from just nothing.
Yeah.
You know, in a matter of less than a month.
Yeah.
With roads that are all have to be cohesive and to spec. And it's pretty cool. I don't know. I'm into it. I like that shit. I want to do more with it. You know, like.
I would hope you would be.
Yeah, there's some potential for some, you know, moving up the chain a little bit this year. I'm kind of hoping that might happen.
So what comes after you do the surveying? You start to actually build the infrastructure of the road.
T-stakes, man. You figure it's 4.5 miles road. It's 4.5 miles on each side, so that's 9 miles long.
Okay.
At T-stakes every 50 feet, with a crew of about 25, 30 people pounding, and you get it done probably within a matter of, I think this year we got it done in like 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
Less.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's like people go out there, it's like a race.
Yeah.
You know, one side's trying to beat the other side because they're 2 teams, you know, and everybody's just mashing those things. And it's like, raw. I mean, there's some impressive people that go out there because it's an even split between girls and guys too. I mean, like there's no predominance to anything out there. It's everybody's out there going crazy and they're mad horses working. Then you flag the road. You get the flag. Hopefully, if it shows up this year we called this one Waiting Man. Our flag line didn't show up until like the day before it had to be like open. So it was.
Where was it coming from?
Some rickety mom and pop place that like they were trying to make it. It just didn't get ordered in time. There was a lot of confusion with like ordering stuff this year. Don't know any of the details. Just
somebody else up the chain.
Somebody up the chain. Yeah, I don't know how or whatever, but it just we didn't get it. So, but anyways, you flag the road. After that, I mean, that's just what I'm doing. You know, flagging the road, and then we have to like all the cones that get set out there. Those have to get set out like they're specifically, and seriously, it's when those things are all freshly put out there, and it takes about 12 people to go out there and do that, to set all the cones out. I mean, 4.5 miles long. They have to be every 150 feet. You're putting out a row to divide the lanes. You know, in certain lanes there's 16 lanes, some are only 8. And then like, you know, when you get on to Playa from the highway, I don't know if you've seen how it looks like there's like those little diamond things that you have to like separate. It separates the lanes.
Yeah.
Though that's all. That shit's crazy to have to put together. People don't realize it when you see it. Like, oh, just some T-sticks in the ground.
Yeah.
No. The math, like, just figuring out the math behind all that and like lining it up and making sure like each, because those diamonds are all they're it's calculated to the foot, you know. So there's all those that are getting put up. I think it's over 3,000 cones get put up on Gate Road.
Wow.
And that's not including the cones for like will call lot that we had to build, which is a huge undertaking this year. They added a huge will call lot and a separate road that went to will call this year. So that was, and then we had to do that too.
Now, is the road the same design every year, or do you?
It switches a little bit every year. I mean, they don't want to be going over the same footprint every year, so they try to move at the city a little bit, and that makes us move a little bit. But there's certain parts that it's kind of crazy. I can see parts of where Gate Road was from 3 years ago when I'm out on Playa. Yeah.
How?
Just how the ground's matted down, and you can see it matted down all one length, and then like, you know, it's the next one is like even more matted down. So that was one from last year. You know, like you'll see it from a few years. You know, it's kind of interesting to see how it's progressed. But there's, you know, they try to constantly change it so it's not constantly packing that ground in one spot.
Yeah. So at this point in the process, how long is it till the gates open?
The
countdown.
We got out there this year. Survey started on the 2nd or the 4th. And then, or the 3rd, I'm sorry, the 3rd. And then we had to have Gate Road open by the 19th, fully functional. And now we had it fully functional, operational, if we'd had the flag line come in on time. It would have been done on the 14th, because that was when we planned on having it done, was on the 14th. Because once my job's done with that, it doesn't mean my job is done. Like, I'm still a part of logistics, so we had to like set up Gate Actual, you know, all the containers that go to the gate, and then the headquarters for Gate, all that stuff that's out there. That's all got to get surveyed and put in place and built. All the signage has to go out on the roads, you know, the 10-mile-an-hour signs, GARS radio, you know, all the stuff the BLM wants us out there, like the mile marker signs. And there's lots of little technical things that throughout the whole week you're constantly putting them up just to tear them down again, because you got to get ready for it to go the opposite way. Yeah. So you have to flip some signs, change some signs out, you know. So there's constantly things going on, shifting on the Gate Road throughout the whole event, from the time we start to the time we're done tearing it down.
So all 16 to 8 lanes, like, they're going in, and at what point do they switch into exit mode?
When do we?
Yeah, you're saying that they start to switch sides.
Yeah, basically. Well, because there's always an exit lane that you can go outside of. Yeah. But when I think it's on starting Saturday night, you know, we go and start moving signs for expecting people to using the road, the main road, for exodus. Yeah. So it basically starts right in the middle of the weekend. So by Sunday, all the speed marker signs, all the radio signs, you know, the information stuff is going the other way. Yeah.
So you're basically spending a huge chunk of your time at the entrance of the event for most of the event.
Most of my event is out on Gate Road. I spend more time out on Gate Road during Burning Man than inside the city. Yeah. Which is okay with me.
Yeah, you don't get to explore a big chunk of it, I feel like.
There's things I don't get to do that I did my first 2 years, but I got to do those things. I just don't think they'd be the same if I was trying to go out there and like, I want to spend 1 year where that's where I go do that again. Probably wouldn't be the same. Which is fine, because, you know, I expected to get into something different. I wanted more. I wanted to, you know, the only thing I could see myself doing now at Burning Man is, you know, more art. You know, I'd like to take some art out there. You know, this year it was fun. I got to be me and one of my buddies that I work with on our crew. The last few years we'd go to early burn and we're like, how come our department doesn't have a effigy? Damn it, this sucks. You know, we should build something. We talked shit about it for like last 2 years, and this year we're like, fuck it, let's do it. So we made this like 8 foot tall, it looked like a cone. It was 8 foot tall. We did build it out of plywood and filled it full of plywood inside of it, spray painted it orange and had the silver. It looked like a cone.
It sounds like you made a teepee.
It pretty much was, but, you know, it was nice to, it looked like a cone by the time we got it done and sent it out there. And, it was the first time our department has ever had an effigy. I was like, wow, that's cool. So it was fun. And I'm like, it definitely got me inspired to go, maybe one of these years I'll get to spend some time and actually build something I can take out there,
What was sort of like the biggest mind explosion moment you had being out there this much, like not the previous year, when you were out there this much earlier than the year before, like your first time being out there that long before the event?
Just the weather and the sunsets. Like, honestly, I have a much better time pre-event than I do event out there. When you're out there, like I said, a lot of it's the camaraderie in the community and the family side of it, but you're also like, there's just something to say about the sunsets and the skies and the weather systems that come through there. It's different every single day, and it's just amazing, and when you're in that big giant city, you don't witness that as much. It's just a big dust bowl because you don't get to witness everything. And the dust is just because of the city, how big it is, and the traffic that's coming through there. And,
similar to how you can't see the stars because of the lights from default world.
But when you're out there and nobody's out there, it's like 1,000 people out there the first 2 weeks.
Wow.
I don't even think it's that many people. I mean, it's definitely a huge difference seeing everything. You actually get to talk with some of the people in the town. You're meeting people from departments that you would never ever associate with during the event, or even if you were working during the event.
Was there a job that you didn't even know existed that you saw for the first time? You're like, I never thought about that. I guess that is something somebody has to do.
Well, I mean, my first year volunteering, because of Kara, she had already been involved in volunteering with Burning Man for a few years, working department. So she's the one who got me involved in doing this. And we went out to what they call a work weekend out at the ranch. There's a ranch just not too far past where the Burning Man's being held out in Black Rocks Desert. Yeah. And they do work weekends out there where you go out there and you help work on projects and, for your department. And there was like 3 of them that year, 3 different work weekends. And we went to 2 of them. And I got to meet everybody. I hadn't even volunteered for them yet. I just went out there. I was volunteering. I knew I was going to, but I went out there. I wanted to meet people ahead of time. And I also was very fortunate because she was working with a security company that was based out of Black Rock City. And they were all either gate people or rangers. So I knew a bunch of people that I was going to be working with at Burning Man before I even went to Burning Man. Yeah. I go to the work weekend and go to the ranch, that was just mind-boggling in itself, seeing this giant area where they so organized and so well put together, and like, no wonder they can run this event. It's huge. That was my year. I came back and, I was doing logistics for Utopia, and I came back going, we got to get our own fucking place, man. We need, I felt we need a ranch. I definitely feel like I was definitely Thorne and John Ray and Natural Science going, we got to get a fucking space. We need our own place to put shit. Utopia needs a place. And that, collab happened. Yeah. It was like, I feel good to see that was, where we were going, as a community for Utopia. Because it's like, it works for them. It helps their community so much. It helps their event to have a place to have a home base and build things. And
even though I don't go there very often, it still has like, it is... It's weird just knowing that you've planted a flag. Yeah, totally.
It's there. Totally. It's like, there's
that thought alone helps.
Yeah, nothing can hold. I mean, if you can say, "Oh, I wish I had a place to work on my project." Yeah. Well, you do. Yeah. You do now. It's like, oh, and Utopia does have a place to keep all this cool stuff. And they can build this event bigger and better. Because they have a place to store things or work on things or congregate and, or have gatherings, meetings. It's amazing. I'm glad they're doing it.
Totally. So what does the actual gate looks like? What is it when you arrive at the gate? You're about to come into Burning Man. What is that setup?
Well, it gets a little better and different every year, but basically, this last year. So I'm gonna have to go back based off what it was like this last year. because they added another road for a will call road, which I don't think will be there this year. I think that they realize that that's not necessary for this project. But at that point, they had what they call Apex. Apex is basically the people that when you first get there, they go, "Do you have a ticket?" Mm-hmm. If you go no, then they send you to will call. If you go do, they send you to go forward. They're also they also help pulse traffic so the gate doesn't just get bombarded, especially with dust and all this other stuff. The Apex holds it back far enough to where it keeps the dust down a bit as well. And so once you get through there, you either go to will call, big lot, and you get out and go do your will call thing, or you go straight ahead, which we have 12 lanes at that point that we have kiosks at, which kiosks are just these 20-foot shipping containers that each one is either like a storage unit or one's an office. Another ones are, they all have uses for things, but their main use during Burning Man is, to help create the lanes and a safety, point for people so that way they can get out of the way and they can hide behind one of those things if cars coming out of control, or if the dust gets bad, they can go inside them and close the door. So you have those there, and there's usually each lane will have a scanner and an inspector. Sometimes they'll have multiple, so that's usually a team of 2. And then they'll have a lane lead, which would be the third person. But those guys, one of them's greeting you, saying hi, whatever, letting you know you can't have any firearms, weapons, fireworks. Do you have any stowaways?
Does anybody take out a gun and hand it to you?
I not while I was working. I'm sure if you talk to enough people through Burning Man, the whole time they've been doing it, you come up with
somebody must have shown.
I've heard of people sneaking in water tanks. In scuba gear, in water tanks, in the in the water with scuba gear on, and then bragging, we made it. Dude, if you want to go through all that, hey man, props to you. You'll win. Good, you won. You win a Burning Man ticket. But, they've actually, but honestly, I've been surprised at the creativity of people have gone through to sneak in, and I'm even more surprised that they get caught. They're a lot of the people that work the lanes have gotten pretty good at what to look for and how to look for things.
How many people a day do you think are getting caught?
This year wasn't too bad. I think people are starting to get wise, and it's look, dude, you don't want to go out there without a ticket because you can get screwed, and everybody in the car is going to get screwed with you. So it's not as often. I think this year there was only a couple that I had heard of. There might have been more, but I only heard of a couple.
Yeah.
The year before, I think there was somebody who was trying to sneak people in a truck. They had a fake wall, but we'd heard about it because somebody was trying to sell, or it was in Gerlach that somebody was trying to hey, I got this truck if you guys want to get in. We got word of that, and we kind of knew they were coming in and they got in trouble.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to sneak in there. It's just not worth it. You don't want the last thing you want to do is be way the hell out there and get stranded because they're not going to have any sympathy for you if you try to sneak in.
Yeah.
There's enough people that go out there that don't have tickets that'll just sit on the will call and with a sign that says, "I need a miracle ticket." They'll have some sob story. Or whatever, but they'll just
sit there.
Get in? So many people get in.
I've seen a lot of those people out there, and I'm
this year more than ever. But I've also seen people that have just not gotten in. So it's not something I want to recommend anybody even do, because the last thing you want to do is get stuck out there because we're not feeding you, we're not giving you water, we're not feeling sorry for you and gonna say, okay, come on in, or here's a shelter, or you could set up camp here. No, none of that's happening. You have to. There's a point where BLM's gonna evict you.
Evict you from the front of the gate where you're hanging out.
Put you out on the highway.
After
that, they'll get you for loitering.
Man,
I don't even know what, but.
Burner Podcast.
All right. This is the email of events. So the way that this works when we do this little break thing is that producer Meg sends me some crap to announce, and I announce it, and then sometimes I throw together some things, and sometimes some other stuff comes in. But either way, the email that I have from producer Meg is time to start planning your regional burns for 2016. Where will you be this year? We suggest ... And then she gives us an awesome list. Thank you, Meg, for saving me a lot of work here. Element 11 is Utah's regional burn. It's probably one of the most talked about regional burns, by the way. A lot of people do describe it as being the most like being on Playa. July 2016, go to www.element11.org. 11 is the number, 11. Element11.org. Go check that out. Transformus is the Carolinas regional burn. Apparently they combined the two. That's also July of 2016. That is at transformus.com, spelled transform US, like us. Transformus.com. Frostburn is West Virginia's regional burn. That's February 2016. That is at frostburn.org. I hope you know how to spell that. Saguaro Man is Arizona's regional burn. That's in April of 2016. Saguaro Man is SAGUARO man.azburners.org. There's Flipside. That's Austin, Texas regional burn. Memorial Day weekend of 2016. burningflipside.com. And finally, you know what? Not finally, just the last one on this list. Bequanax, which is Los Angeles' regional burn. But I understand it's not actually in Los Angeles area. It's like at Coachella Valley. I could be wrong. Or Joshua Tree. I think that's where it has been. But anyway, LABurningMan.com is the website to go to where you can actually get that answer rather than hearing my speculating. There's tons of regional burns around the world. I hear Ireland's is in a castle. South Africa's, I believe, has monkeys, is what I've been told. Find out where your regional burn is, whatever the closest one is to you, go check it out. You don't need to come all the way to Black Rock City to get a taste of your culture. Even, if you don't have like an active community in your particular area, there's tons of ways to get involved and art to get working on and all that good stuff. And hey, if you have any interesting messages to leave for us and questions and comments and awesome stuff, the Burner Podcast phone line is 858-877-3534. Again, that's 858-877-3534. I wish it was toll free. It's not, but whatever. Let's get back to Knotty Boy.
Welcome home.
Yeah, I talked to some people on Playa, and like there was like a variety of responses when we would talk about people trying to sneak in. A lot of people's response was like, what a bunch of dicks, like people are working hard to like make this thing happen, and here you are like basically putting a middle finger up to everybody else who did it right. And then you have like other people who had a response of like, man, why did they even care? Like, fuck it, just let them in. Like, well, you can only let a certain amount of people in.
That's especially now at the BLM. They're very, their eyes are on. They're out there. They're watching everything that we're doing because they want to make sure that, we're actually being accurate with our counts, and we're not just letting people in, or we're not selling too many tickets that we weren't supposed to. Just proving to them that we're keeping our nose clean and doing what we're supposed to be doing.
What is your relationship with BLM like?
It's weird. I mean, I understand. I don't have to deal with BLM that much outside of when I meet them on the roads. Mm-hmm. I'm always very nice and cordial, but there's a good amount of them that show up that just they don't want any association with us. They used to eat in our commissary.
Yeah.
They would always be, so they felt like they were around, but up until like a couple of years ago, they wanted their own commissary. They wanted to be totally separate. They didn't want to be any part of it. So it kind of takes it away a little bit.
Do you have an idea of what happened that made that shift?
No.
I mean, I'm certain there's stuff behind the scenes that we don't know.
Yeah, right? I'm not that far up the chain yet, and I can only speculate, and I don't want to do that,
Totally. Yeah, that sucks.
I see a lot of them, BLM stopping people, and I want to say harassing with the dogs and things like that, and, wanting to, like they're out there looking for the big drug bust,
Yeah.
And that's frustrating because I'm like, dude, there's so many other things out there I could think of that need to be done that, where's the protect and serve? Or you just looking for the bust?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's things like that, but I'm so low in the totem pole, it's easy for me to be frustrated because those are the other things I see.
Sure, yeah.
I don't have to deal with the uppers, who I, have any kind of relationship with any of them, so I don't know.
And it feels like it was in the past couple of years that they sort of like shifted to themselves and seem like they're going after the big bust as you're describing.
Like I said, I've only been a part of the gate for 3 years.
Sure.
So I could say my first year there didn't seem as they were as intense, but the last 2 years, yeah.
Yeah.
But I know they went through a big change with their sheriff department, and I mean, I know there was all this controversy with the Choco Tacos and
the Choco Tacos. Oh, that's right. That they were demanding the Choco. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, there's I mean, based on my experience with sort of like how these bureaucracies and government agencies work, at somewhere up the food chain started getting pressure from another food chain.
Yeah.
And that found its way down to the guys, that are at the street level enforcing the laws or whatever, and they're responding to the bureaucracy. Is what's happening.
Rumors I heard this year was the big Choco Taco conspiracy. Apparently, there was a guy.
We should clarify for listeners that don't know. Long and short of it is that BLM, the Bureau of Land Management, they almost had something that people were calling like a rider, like a concert rider almost.
Yeah.
And they're demanding all these things like air conditioned units for them to stay in, and like refrigerators stocked with ice cream sandwiches and Choco Tacos.
24 hours a day.
Yes, 24 hours a day, stocked with ice cream sandwiches. So continue. Yes, Choco Tacos.
Apparently the gentleman that was in charge of making that rider.
Yeah.
He was let go from working at Burning Man through BLM. I mean, they basically said, "Yeah, you're screwing us up." Said no, and they brought in somebody else.
Okay.
So, and the new guy was really cool, apparently. But like I said, I think I don't think it's the big eyes that are the big problem. I think it's just the newbies that go out there that are looking for the big bust, and they're thinking this is the crazy thing. We want to have numbers. We need to have numbers, and just from what the new sheriff that took over, I saw censorship at Burning Man this year that blew my mind away, and it was because of the sheriff.
Yeah. Can you speak on any of that? By the way, whatever you can't speak about is okay.
All I know is that I can only speak from my experiences, and anything I can't say what happened behind the scenes to anything, because I just my experiences alone, where it was kind of funny. Our gate department, they have a dick vaccination. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
But there's dicks on everything.
Yeah. Specifically gate, not the other department.
Yeah. Okay. It just seems, I don't know. Yeah, you weren't around for the dildo toss.
I was not.
Yeah. But anyways, we were told to put rope lights along our fencing around our compound, the black hole. And somebody got creative and made a big penis with the rope lights, and then somebody had some flashing red or flashing white ones that kind of so they made it look like little spooge came out of the dick, and it was funny. And then one of the big uppers came by and said, we had to take it down. No, we couldn't have that. We need to get rid of the dick. We're like, why? And they're like, from what, I wasn't there when he said it, but I do know for a fact that he's the one who told us to take it down.
Yeah.
Rumor has it was because sheriff was pissed off about it because our department's camp is too close to Kidsville, which was 2 blocks away.
Okay.
Because we're too close to Kidsville.
Yeah.
It looked too bad for us being professionals as a department as well. So we had to take it down. So somebody decided, okay, fine. So instead of the big penis on there, they wrote Richard, and then still had the thing coming out of the end of where it said Richard. And they
were okay with that.
They brought the head honcho over, the main guy. I'm not dropping names, but he's like one of the main guys that runs Burning Man now.
Yeah.
Brought him over and says, "Is this fine?" And he said, "That's great. That's great. I love it." Another censorship I saw was it was the Totem Project.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name? Mike. Oh man, what's his name? Do you remember the Totem Project?
I don't.
He did the photo chapel a few years ago.
Okay.
You were at Burning Man this year, right?
Yeah.
He had it was like it was all these photos, and they had like little things you could look inside the box.
Was it the Dark Temple? It was almost like it was black, and there was like,
when you got inside of it, had a centerpiece. Did you see the nun? That was a big picture of the nun.
I believe so.
It had like the bottom half of the picture was being covered by these 2 gates.
Okay.
And I had heard that the gates were put up because the sheriff told the artist that he needed to cover that up. He needed to put a lock on that thing. If he didn't have that thing, if there wasn't a lock on there, he'd have him arrested.
Okay, so what was it? What were the gates covering up?
Well, it was this photo of a nun. From what you could see, it was just this nun in this very kind of like,
holy pose?
Not so much of a holy pose.
Okay.
It looked like she had her arm up her thing, so it looked like she was grabbing her boob.
I think I remember it now. Okay.
And it was all in black and white.
Uh-huh.
And apparently from, rumors that were floating around, the sheriff told him if he didn't have he needed to lock that up, or he was going to have him arrested for indecent
exposure or whatever. Yeah.
All the same shit. Or he would just deny him even letting him have the project out there or something to that nature. I was like, wow, that's crazy. So me and Cylon, Kara, we went out to... we were like, we need to go check this project. I mean, Mike Arlington, that's the artist name, Mike Arlington. She's also friends with Mike Arlington. So she's like, hey, let's go check this thing out. I want to see what's going on. So we go and do the thing, and Mike was there at the photo, standing there. And he had a group of people around there, and I was like, what's up with the thing? Why is it closed? And he's like, he looks around. I said, can we see? And he looked around, and he opened it up, and it's a nun, she had her dress pulled up, and she was kind of doing what's the...
masturbating?
Exorcist.
Oh, with the cross.
Thing going on.
The cross dildo
and as
thing.
foul as rude and blasphemous as any religious person could say it was a freaking awesome photo.
Yeah.
That thing was badass.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is or how I did it, but it was cool. And I asked him a little bit about it. I said, what's up? Why is there a lock on it? He's like, sheriff told me I had to keep a lock on it. He's like, there's a lock on it.
Okay.
It's not locked. He's like, but there's a lock on it. Because he's got it locked, but he just locked one side so you can still open it.
Yeah.
So, but he had to stand there and show people he wouldn't have it open if he wasn't there.
Oh my God.
And I was just like, wow, this is what it's really coming to, I'm like,
This the randomest things that they fixated on out of all the other shit that was out there.
And honestly, for as far as we know, it could have been a publicity stunt.
Sure.
Him saying it was,
that's true.
To get more attention. Who knows? But I'm just saying that I know for a fact we had censorship, and then we see this going on. I was just like, oh wow, what's this going on here? New sheriff in town, trying to lay the law down. So I'm curious to see what the org's going to have to do or say about that right now.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech.
Yeah.
I mean, my solution is there shouldn't be kids there.
At Burning Man?
18, yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not a fan of having people under 18 there.
Yeah.
It's just I take them to their regionals. Regionals can handle a little bit more of that. When you're at that level of people and that amount, there's no. I feel like Utopia has more, precaution and readiness for, lost child or anything like that going on than they do at Burning Man.
Yeah.
Lost child at Burning Man. By the time it's reported and it gets put to us, it's been like 20 minutes, half hour.
Yeah.
Because it's so big.
And you do like an all radio call when something like that happens.
Yeah,
right?
usually but by the time it gets to a ranger, rangers will post, put it on their thing, and then they'll announce it to Gate, so Gate will shut down.
Okay. How many times that happened this year?
Didn't happen this year. It happened the year before. That's the only time we had it happen. Where we heard a lost child. Yeah. Now, I mean, I haven't heard very many, bad things happen with the kids there or anything like that. But when you have the sheriff coming into town and wanting to lay down the law, saying that we're going to start censoring things because there's children here, then I'm like, then the children shouldn't be here.
Yeah. I would imagine the argument against that, and mind you, I don't have kids, and nor am I interested in having any.
I don't have kids. It's easy for me to say, I don't have kids. I don't
have kids, but I imagine the argument against that would be, then we're totally caving in, to what the demands of these people are, because, like parents within our community, like they do want to like expose their kids to.
How many of the kids are participating in the 10 principles though?
Yeah.
They're there because they have to be, because the parents want to be there.
Yeah.
I think
true. They're not radical self-reliance.
There's they're not doing any of that, so they're not participating. They're I think it's really cool. I've met people where I've met kids that were like 10, 11, and they've been to every burn since they were born. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, this kid's probably going to be pretty amazing when he grows up. He's had some great culture and things like that. And it's good, and it can happen. But for the amount of people that take all the kids out, I guarantee they're not all like that. Mm-hmm. And especially because my ultimate feel of how Burning Man, the event Burning Man, not the organization, but the event itself, has become too much of a bucket list event. And if you've got people that are doing, if it's that many people that are on the bucket list that are only going there because they just want to do this party, and if any of those people are bringing kids and things like that out there, they're definitely not being handled properly. I'm like, there's tons of enough sexual assault reports at Burning Man every year. And the last thing you want to do is involve kids with any of that. There's enough people that are high on something that, that can't handle themselves, that are going to mistake somebody for somebody being a certain age that they're not, It's just too risque of an environment. Me personally, it's not because I don't have kids. It's because I really don't like going to any event where there's anybody under 21. Really, I don't want. It's just not my age group. I don't.
Yeah. The so last year that you said that there was a lost child. There was only one occasion.
Yeah,
of that?
but within like half an hour after we closed the gates, we got the report that it was the child was found.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't heard of anything like child ever come missing. I have never heard that there's been anything. I'm not saying that it hasn't happened or it could happen, but
so wouldn't the argument
that it's a safe environment for them?
Yeah, wouldn't it be like, well, look at it. Like if you can see, like we're not getting reports of like the kinds of things that you're describing happening. Yeah,
we have enough adults dying. Almost every year it seems like somebody dies at Burning Man.
Yeah.
Well, what happens when a kid dies? That's gonna fucking change everything. Everything.
But even with that number, and mind you, I'm taking devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
Even with that number, like for an event that size with that many people, the fact that we only have like a death, and what's the number at?
True.
That's pretty fucking impressive.
Even if you only put it at one a year and you have 70,000 people, people die at football stadiums.
Yeah.
People die. Everywhere you go.
I think more people die of peanut allergies.
We had to experience that at our Utopia this year with our first death, and I'm like, but how many years have we been doing this? And how many thousands of people every year we've been doing it? I'm like, we're very fortunate. It hasn't been more. It's very sad that it's been even the one.
Sure,
it hit us all really hard because it's never happened to us before. But shit happens. That kind of shit happens. But like I said, when it happens with a kid, it's gonna change a lot of things, and it's
gonna bring a shitstorm.
I just want people to look at the idea of how the event could run if there was no kids, so that way they could think about it before they do it because they have to. Think about it, in a sense of like, how can we make this work with for parents and or kids or whatever. But that's always my thing every year. I'm like, one of these kids are gonna get ran over. How many times these kids go out on the bikes and they just zooming in the streets and not paying attention. All the time. I'm there 7 weeks out of the year, but there's only maybe I'd say you'll start seeing kids probably like the week before the burn show up.
That was going to be my question. Like, what sort of how much ahead of the burn do you start seeing like kids showing up?
It depends. There's people who kids will go out there periodically off and on throughout the even just during the build because they'll go out there and visit like their mom or their dad, and they'll be there for like a few days or even a week or whatever. And when you got all that building going on and you're not expecting kids, you're just like, oh, what's this going on? This kid like fucking kid, watch it. You almost got hit by a 2x4. It's dusty. I can't see in this big ass truck I'm driving. So there's that. But then you get into about the week before the event, you start noticing like there's a lot more kids. Kidsville starts showing up. And why they put them next to Gate and DPW, I have no idea.
That was a good question.
Yeah.
So let's get back here to the gate real quick. So at one point, basically what happened one night for listeners, I ended up out there with Bob, who's our co-lead for Utopia, who you've heard on this show a couple of times now. We go and you give us a tour of Gate. Remember that was the night.
We went out to the tower and everything. Yeah,
that was the night. I was like, I got to get fucking Richie on the show. So tell us about the tower. What is that?
The lookout tower.
Yeah.
We use that a lot to like survey like how the traffic is, know how far back it's going. It also helps.
Do you build that on the spot?
It's something that you break down and put back together every time. It's not like it's built out of wood or anything. It's one of those rigs that you just break down and put back together every year. It's what, 4 stories? 3 stories? 3 stories tall, I think it is. It's just to give us a lookout point when there's a lot of, see how the traffic's backing up. we used to have a big spotlight on the top of it.
Yeah.
So that way, if we saw something out in the distance, we could blast our light on it, But now that we have radar,
Yeah.
we have our perimeter department that
Radar is a department?
we have perimeter.
Okay.
Which is part of gate, but
Okay.
the perimeter. We have gate, exodus, and perimeter that are all part of our department.
Okay.
Perimeter is the one that drives around in the trucks out on the playa, shooing people away from trying to come in off the wrong way or sneak in, around,
piss.
outside the fence line.
Mm-hmm.
There's that, but we have a thing called the lighthouse, and that's back at the black hole. It's basically another shipping container that's our radar room. Mm-hmm. They shoot radar. They can see a fox, the size of a fox, 2 miles outside of the perimeter.
Amazing. Yeah.
So you try to sneak in, they're going to see it, no problem. I mean, you're not that slick. Nobody's that they're going to get you. So, there's that. So they don't use the spotlight as much to look out for unwanteds, but they use it for if they need. They didn't have the spotlight this year, but they'd use it sometimes on cars that needed extra attention because something was going on. Mm-hmm. Just basically an overall view, just to kind of know where your operations are. It's just a high standing point to know where your operation is. Okay. It's not as used as often as it used to be. Like I said, now that we have the radar and the event's so much bigger, our perimeter trucks are everywhere now. Mm-hmm.
So now is Exodus, are they going to work pretty much right when the event starts as well, or is it halfway through?
Exodus usually doesn't start up until probably Thursday, and they start setting up. For changing the signs around, putting the markers up on the highways. We still do run some sort of flagging operations. We call it at the T or the gravel, which is basically when you come off the highway and the road. We call that the gravel. We have an operations there that making sure stopping traffic to let traffic out onto the highway to kind of keep that functioning. Okay. Smoothly up there. So there's that starts, and that usually start building that on Thursday, and then Friday they start running operations. It's not really too much going on, but there's that. And then the pulsars are also part of Exodus, and they're usually there. They start on Sunday, and I don't know if you've ever been stuck in the pulsing zone. It's
I've been very lucky.
It's like that last turn you make right before you go out before you get the straightaway to get on the highway. Right after you make that turn, they'll stop traffic. Sometimes traffic is backed up and they make you wait 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. But honestly, the way Exodus has been running the last 2 years, that operation's almost been nil and not even needing to run. Yeah. So many people are leaving earlier now, and now that you can stay later, it's just smoothing out the whole Exodus thing. I mean, people are taking a whole week to get there. Making everybody leave in 2 days is crazy. Yeah. So they opened an extra day.
Which has been, I don't know what it was like before that, but from all the horror stories I've heard, it's been pretty fantastic.
Last thing you want to do is wait to get home as long as it took for you to get there, So
yeah, or longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. So when it switches over to sort of Exodus mode, what are you doing in that moment? Are you switching over to taking orders or
moving all the signs basically? From one side to the other side coming through. There's constant road work we're doing. Every day you have to go out there and set the cones back up, because people drive over them or the wind blows them around. T-stakes get knocked over, people run into them. The flag line gets cut, you have to retie it. Gets cut all the time. BLM, whenever they pull somebody over, they cut the flag line and put people through. So you have to fix that every day. It's just maintenance throughout the week. But towards Exodus, we start tearing down some of the stuff like the will call lot, the will call road, you start tearing down. The signs all get put out, like I said, the opposite direction. Some new signs had to get put out just because of its Exodus. And then, just hurry up and get everybody the hell out of there so it breaks you down. You know, by Sunday you're like, let's get the fuck out of here. You're so ready to go, and you have like a whole nother 10 days there.
Yeah. So at this point you're breaking down things and collecting things.
Down, yeah. For what takes a month to build, you break it down in like less than a week. And you're tired and crusty at that point. So that's always fun and a challenge. But
how long did you go without showering?
The longest while I was out there without showering, I think like 4 days, because the dust was so bad, and they would close the showers because of the dust. Yeah. So you're like, okay, and so you're in the dust, so you're dusty as shit all day long, and you've been working, and you got the funk layer going. 4 days got a little rough. You run out of baby wipes pretty quick out there.
Oh man!
So everybody was like, "Can I bring anything when I come out there?" And it was always baby wipes. You know?
Yeah. So overall, like my general feeling in that environment, by the way, is just like I don't even want to shower because
it seems pointless sometimes.
Yeah, it is. It's just I generally try to live my life. I mean, as you can see with my apartment, like it's. I'm not quite Buddhist, but like I'm following some of those ideas. Yeah, like seeking detachment, and like I don't want to be attached to the cleanliness, like the clean feeling I have after a shower, because it's gonna immediately get dusty again. So I feel like that would make me even more anxious. This year, however, I did shower halfway through at Dr. Bronner's, and I realized how close I was to killing everybody around me until I took the shower.
You're like, ooh,
yeah, that was probably very necessary.
Yeah.
So this year, tell me about, obviously, so the bugs were like the big different thing this year.
Yeah, that was crazy. What was crazy.
What was the first bug that you saw? What was the first piece of information that got back to you? It was like, holy shit, there's bugs out here.
Just we'd be working, and all of a sudden you'd be like, you'd look on your arm, you'd have like hundreds of these little black gnat kind of things all over you. You'd be like, what the hell is all over me?
Yeah.
Shake them off, and some of them would bite.
Yeah.
And you'd put bug spray on, it didn't help. Now, they wouldn't bite and like leave a bump or you'd be, or anything like that, but they would you'd feel like it's ow.
Yeah.
Like somebody just poked you with a pen, kind of thing. And then there was these big green ones, the big round green bugs. And then they would be all over everything. And it was crazy because like you'd wake up in the morning and we'd move our truck.
Yeah.
And where our tires were, there'd be piles of these bugs.
Oh my God.
All around the base of where the tires were. They would hover over anything that was dark colored and like stay there.
Yeah.
Until they died. It was weird. Then they'd all just be these piles of it. And then the next day they'd all be back. They'd be everywhere. You'd look at the lights, from the light towers, and it was just insane. Swarms. I'm sure some people have seen pictures and stuff, but they were everywhere. And then the event started.
Yeah.
And they were gone. And then everybody fucking left, and they came back.
Are you serious?
Yeah, man.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, they came back. They weren't as bad, but they came back, and there was a good amount of them. You were like, enough to where there was a couple times we were trying to do a job. We were trying to break down that tower thing that we were on.
Yeah.
We all got frustrated and said, fuck it. We're not tearing this down. We're doing something else today because we just got so sick of like getting eaten by these bugs.
Oh my God.
And they were just annoying. You'd be in your mouth and your face and
What was the conversation that was being had when like the first few days that you guys are
trying to figure out where they were coming from?
Yeah.
Well, every morning we'd go to the DPW meeting, and it was always something funny about the bugs. Yep, the bugs are here. We have no idea what the fuck's going on with them. It's like where they came from, and everybody's got their theory. Oh, it's because of the rain, and some people were like, oh, it's the light towers, or it's the fire, like blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, it's just a wet late season, It's like, it's probably. I mean, I'm sure it's like this in the spring out here. It's not. By the time we normally get out here, it's not spring weather. It just happens to be like spring when we first got there, and it was just weird.
Yeah.
It was eerie.
Was there any talks about like how the event was going to deal with it, or was it just like nope?
Yeah, there was initial worry about like, okay, is anybody going to get any diseases, or like we have to worry about getting sick from any of this stuff? Was this going to be a problem at the event?
Do you know if like any doctors came out to check on you guys?
There's doctors and medics out there, and they did say if anybody has anything they feel like coughing or anything weird, definitely come in.
Yeah.
It was more of one of those things where there was talk. Okay, so during the event, what's this gonna be like? We're like, all you can do is just throw your arms in the air. You're like, I don't know if it's happened like this in the event. People just gotta fucking deal with it. You know, like there's nothing you can do out there. We had a bug zapper on top of. There's also another gate that people aren't usually used to. It's
tell me about this other gate.
They had about 8 names for it this year. They kept wanting to change names. It was like China Beach or Westport or Point One, blah blah blah. But basically, it's Hall Road. It's where all like the big work trucks come. They don't come through on Gate Road. There's like a separate road. It's on 12 Mile. Usually,
it's like the service elevator.
Yeah, we have like a service road.
Yeah.
Which is now more and more becoming my responsibility to make operational now too. But we also have another gate department that's over there that monitors that entrance. Well, they had a big ass bug zapper on top of their thing, and man, the next day you could took a shovel to the bugs.
Oh my god!
Shoveled, whoosh. It was about a wheelbarrow load full of dead bugs on top of that their operation there with all the bug zapper. It was insane.
That is mind blowing.
Oh yeah, we were like, where are these coming from? You know, like there was rumors, you know, that people were pulling it out of the lake, and when they'd water the road, that they were eggs, and I don't know, there was all kinds of different stories.
You know how many people out here thought that it was a prank? They're like, nope, DVW just must be fucking with us.
Oh, I know. I kept getting every now and then I'd be able to get online.
Yeah.
When I'd go into town because they have like a computer room you can go in and get online and check your email, whatever. And I'd get on Facebook and the first thing is the bugs a real thing? Is this really a real thing? And I'm like, it's a fucking real thing. I don't know how much it's getting hyped back there, but yeah, bugs are kind of crazy out here. It's like, it's not going to ruin the party or anything. I don't see how any of that could have affected the party in a negative way. It might have been a little annoying for some people, but
I don't know, dude. Hundreds of bugs on your arms? That's fucking terrifying.
Yeah,
I might be in a certain state of mind where I lose
people
my
out there,
shit.
there'd been less bugs on you because they'd been on some other people too. The ratio is way better.
That's true. Yeah, that's totally true. It's entirely possible that the bugs were very much still out there, and we're just so many more of us out there.
It could have been. I don't know. It was crazy. Like I said, you get up in the morning and wherever there was a tire, there'd just be these. I can't even thousands of.
Were they in your tent or in your
No, they didn't. They didn't come inside. I mean, honestly, they weren't intrusive. They weren't like mosquitoes flying around.
That's nice.
It was weird because when those bugs came, the mosquitoes left. I don't know if they came to eat the mosquitoes or something. Or, who knows? But they were gone.
Mosquitoes are like, whoa, we just walked into a bad neighborhood. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, dude, we're getting overran here. Let's get out of here.
So was it like pretty much right when the event started? You guys noticed they're all gone, or was it a couple of days before? Or did they slow down?
I think it just kind of progressed as people were showing up.
Yeah.
I think the more people that came out there, the less they were around. And then when it got to be like all those people, they were just like,
Wow.
But within a matter of like, Monday after the event, we're like, fucking bugs are back, dude.
Yeah.
So it could have just been like you said, could have just been dissipated because there was more people out there.
Yeah.
And you just didn't notice it, or they just took off for a little while.
Yeah, I did have a moment where I saw a bug land on my leg and then it flew away. And then I turned to my friend Helen and I said, "Oh, I just saw a bug land on me." And she said, "No, honey, you just ate mushrooms." So I'm not 100%
so I'm
sure.
not 100%.
Yeah. I've replayed that memory in my head a bunch of times. I'm like, could it have just been a piece of ash? I don't know what it was. It landed on me and it flew away and I thought it was a bug.
I was sure, but maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know what happened. But then after people left, you said a lot of them came back. Was it the same amount?
No, it wasn't definitely near as intrusive as it was at the beginning, or like they're like, whoa. But you're like, yeah, they were definitely back, and you'd get into swarms every now and then. They weren't like overtaking like they did at the beginning, but they did, you'd go out to certain parts of where you were working and they'd be everywhere out there. You're like, go find something else to do that day because had to get away from them.
Oh, man.
Nobody could figure out what they were attracted to or what it was that, it was just weird. Really strange. I just blame the weather.
Man. So are you? So you're definitely going to be going back next year, working Gate.
Like I said, there's a lot of changes going on right now.
Yeah. What are some of those things you were hinting at the beginning?
I have no idea. There used to be a council. Our department had a council before, and it was with people that were had been doing this burning. Some of them have been doing it since it started, and some of them are just like major role players and those volunteers, those people that kick ass. But the council didn't seem to work out too well. This last council,
The Gate Council.
Yeah, the Gate Council. There was some.
Who was on this council? Like leads from every kind of sub department.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they had our traffic people, gate operations.
How's it different than just having like a gate meeting?
Not sure. Not really familiar with Cat. Like I said, I've only been involved in the department for 3 years, and just got into management. And this last year was my first year, because my first year as a manager, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I got to figure all this shit out. Fuck, I didn't have anybody. There was no rule or like a guidance to go here. This is how you do it all. It's like, no, you're good. You'll figure it out. You know. And this year was the first year I kind of started looking into taking on more responsibility and making more happen, maybe possibly moving up the chain. So I worked on that a lot. So I got to find out a little bit more about what was going on behind the scenes, with the department. And there was just a lot of unhappy people in our department this year. And there was a lot of...
Specifically yours or all departments?
Gate department.
Okay. Your observation is Gate department.
Yeah. I mean, with the different sub-departments and within our Gate department, there was some issues and there was a point where just me and Cylon during the burn, we just weren't happy with being there anymore. We just felt there was a lot of negativity. There was a lot of people that were frustrated and sour, and some people that just bad attitudes. And we're like, what's going on in our department this year? And
what were they sour about?
Who knows? Some people, they just been there too long. I think sometimes people just get too stale and crusty in what they're doing, and they're tired of bitching about things, and to a point where they just hate what they're doing.
Yeah.
So basically, the council all the council got let go. They're like, we're abolishing the council, and everybody that's on the council, we're asking you to take a year off.
Huh. Okay.
Which is crazy, because there's some people on the council that are like, well, how is this going to operate without them?
Yeah.
Who's going to fill those shoes? There's a couple of people that run our, all the functions in the black hole, the bar, they take care of our whole camp, and now they're not even going to be allowed to be a part of our department.
Wow.
This year.
That's pretty huge.
One of the guys that brought me into what I've been doing and got me the job as a management, I told him when he hired me, I said, I want your job. So my goal is to take your job.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, great, yeah, because he figured he'd either move up or move on.
Yeah.
And then this year he got kind of moved up a little bit, and there was this, oh shit, he had to move up, and now nobody's taking his place, but he gave it to a couple guys to do together that he knows because they live up there. And he kept telling me, he's like, I don't want you to think that they're the ones who are going to do this job just because of this. They're just doing it this year, but the job's going to be open next year.
And what is that job?
Logistics lead for the whole department. Okay. Where I won't be just a sub-department now. Okay. And
because you're road now, and that would be all of Gate.
Right. That'd be logistics takes care of everything. Yeah. It's a crazy job, and I got to see a lot of what they're doing, because I was like, if I want this job next year, I'm gonna work with the two guys that were handed it over to this year. And they both did a great job, considering they got thrown into it last second, and they had to do it as a team and figure things out. I would like to see it stay as a two-person team, because one of the guys that was on it, he was awesome, and I think if I didn't get it, he better be the one I didn't get it to. The other guy, he was great at it. It's just that it's not what he wanted. I don't think it's what he wants to do. He was only doing it because he was filling in. And I don't think it's his thing.
Yeah.
On top of that.
Yeah.
Um,
How are your two newbies doing?
They're great. They're excited for next year already. You know, one of the newbies I was hoping to get to take over my old position.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't think I'm ready for this shit, man. It's like, you know, after you go in your first year, and you know, he worked like a champ, you know, and he was there from Golden Spike until the day we left, you know, and you know, 7 weeks is a long time out there.
Yeah.
And to be excited about it next year, all the way home, going, you know, it was a good feeling having both of them in the truck whenever we'd go to work, because almost every single day we'd be on our way home and they were going, this is the coolest shit I've ever done. This is awesome. This is amazing. I'm so glad I could do this. Thank you for helping me come out here. And like every day they said that, all the way up until like on the way home they were saying it, and I was just like,
that's awesome.
That's awesome, because that's the kind of community that I like to see being built, you know, and if more people are like that with their daily lives, a lot of shit can get done.
Yeah. I feel like everyone has this moment in their burn where they're like, fuck this. And then pretty soon afterwards you have oh, never mind. This is why I'm here.
Yeah, especially when you work out there for 7 weeks. Trust me. Yeah, there's been plenty of time.
What was your last one? Your last fuck this. And then, you know what? Never mind. This is pretty fucking awesome.
I had a good one this year where I had to like talk to people about it. Like I had to talk to some other management about it, because I was pretty much fuck this.
Yeah.
And it all had to do with like, that's part of the reason why the council is not there. They were having too many people that were going fuck this, you know. Just people kind of stepping on toes just to swagger themselves around, you know, make themselves like, oh, I'm important.
Yeah.
I'm going to come and tell you how to do your job.
Egos are fun.
Yeah, there seemed like there was a bit of that going around, and it was disappointing because some of them that were doing that were people that I'd always admired, and I was like, is it really getting to the fact that they're just getting crusty, or do they just not have good? Are they not operational as a council well enough to be able to communicate properly to everybody? Like some people that were saying things to me, I'm like, why are you even talking to me? You are not my boss. I don't know why are you even here? Like, if you want to know somebody, shouldn't you be talking to my boss? You know, like it was just weird. It was just wasn't very functional, and it didn't surprise me with the outcome that happened. I'm just like, wow, being told not to come back for a year though. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah,
that's harsh, because some of those people really fucking need.
Yeah, that's rough.
Some of them I could be very happy with not seeing again. There's a couple people that I just did not mesh with well. Not in a point where we were in each other's face or anything like that. It was just like, you know, when you see people work and how they work and things, you just automatically like, I'm not going to get close to that person, because I don't really find myself having respect for how they operate, so you don't want to bring yourself involved in that.
Yeah.
That was more what it was like for me with a couple people. I was like, I just avoided them, didn't want to deal with them, didn't have to, because they didn't really, for the most part. But I saw how they were, and I didn't like it, and I didn't want to be around it. Yeah,
I personally, I have a kind of a rough time, because I don't like, no matter how tired I get, I don't have it in me to like go off on somebody or just like be shitty to somebody because I'm tired.
Not anymore. I don't. When I was younger,
you used to.
When I was younger, I was very fly off the handle. Nowadays.
Are you sympathetic to people that are that way because you have been that way, or do you have less patience for it?
It depends. At the time, I won't. You know, at the time I might give you the same reaction back. Yeah. But for the most part, I understand. Yeah. Like I always end up sitting back and going. I'm always one of those guys who, once I step back from something, I can look at it better. So I try not to react too much at first.
Yeah, I usually just kind of try to disengage. But it is hard because, you know, pretty common for people like just have a full-on meltdown and just tear everybody a new asshole because they're just tired. I mean, they're exhausted, they're beaten.
Yeah, that's unfortunately, but at the same time, thankfully, that's what I have Kara for. Because we would vent and find ourselves arguing with each other. Because we're upset about, not about anything that either one of us had done, but we're just upset about the way shit is, you know, with like how things were going at the department. You know, this was my co-partner, you know, with everything that we were doing. I mean, we slept in that little tiny 8x10 room, you know, for 7 weeks, and we both were getting frustrated and crusty and disappointed in like hearing people, you know, with some of the things that were going on, because everything was amazing up until like up until like pre-burn. And it's crazy because you go through this thing, and it's happened both years. You work with a crew of people from Golden Spike all the way up until pre-burn. And it's like I said, whether you're including just the 12 people that you work with in your department at that time, or the 1,000 people if you know, with everybody that's out there. That's all that's out there. And then pre-burn shows up, and all these people show up. And they're out there going, yeah, we're here. We're going to fucking party. Woo, yeah. And you've been working for fucking 3 weeks out there already, 4 weeks. And you're like, yo, dude, you need to chill the fuck out, dude. I'm like, we're working. You don't come out here. You feel this like already. You feel this like, against these people that show up, you know, and like, who are you? Am I on? And then by the time Burning Man actually happens, then you're really like, who the fuck are all these people in my house? You know, it's like, y'all need to get the fuck out of here. You know, it's like, it starts to feel that way. And I can only imagine for some of those people that have been out there doing it for 15, 20 years, how they're feeling. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you need a break. Yeah. They got to have a break, or they got to do something different, you know, find something different. But that's the hardest part is that the transition to like that new stage of people coming out while you've been doing all this work.
What you just described right now, like that's the description that I've given to people when they're asking why DPW is such dicks to them in some situation. So I always wonder, like, so DPW has that reputation of like, don't fuck with DPW. Gates out there, like pretty much the same amount of time, right?
Yeah, but there's only like 12 of us.
Yeah.
15 of us max. No, I think this year we had 18 people. Last year was 15. I think we had 18 people total from our whole department that was out there. And there's only 12 of us that actually were working. I don't want to say that. Everybody was working, but I want to say we were out there working hand in hand with DPW. We were doing the labor. We were pounding tea steaks, you know, things like that. And
I wonder if that's a culture that's cultivated in DPW as like a healthy way to let your frustration out. Like, hey, fuck the sparkle ponies. Like, I'm just going to go off on them.
DPW is an interesting crowd of people, man. They're totally different. Like, I don't even think 75% of the DPW's burners. Yeah. They're all like punk rock degenerates. I don't want to say degenerates. It's a cruel word to use to get so many cool people. But they got that it's like punk rock fuck you attitude. They're not burners. They're not like the hippie lovey dovey. They're like anarchist punk rock. And you got to be to do the shit they do. I mean, because they're not only out there. I mean, I'm out there 7 weeks going, oh my God, I'm out there so long. Some of these people are all the way out there until October because they're doing restoration, you know? You know, I'm like, y'all crazy. Yeah. But mad props. Yeah. I mean, that's a long time, almost 3 months to be out there. Yeah. And some people do it. Yeah. There's a good handful of people. A lot of the DPW guys do it. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I'd love to interview one of them, but I just don't feel like I'm ever going to be able to get one to sit down.
Yeah, I'd like to see some more DPW people come out of San Diego. It's been kind of cool. I've watched since I started volunteering with Gate at Burning Man. I've got to see like more people from San Diego getting involved in Burning Man, and I'd really like to encourage more people to volunteer, do something, get involved, you know, with Burning Man in a different way. I mean, it's not that hard, you know. It's you can do 1 or 2 shifts, or you can, you know, there's departments that'll give you, you know, bonuses if you do a certain amount of shifts, and do, you know, perks, and you know, if you work this amount of shifts in this time, then you can, you know, they'll gift you a ticket for the year before, next year, you know. So there's incentive, but to me the best part about it is like, it's like the thing I say at every year for the Utopia people. I'm like, I want some of you guys to start volunteering other events. Start seeing how you can grow Utopia, you know, like also get some experience under your belt. Like go volunteer, you know, Burning Man. I was stoked because like Jake signed up and he works Gate, you know.
Jake's working Gate?
Yeah, Jake. He didn't go this year, so no, if he did, he would have. Yeah. But the year before he flagged. We got him a job flagging, and he worked in the lanes, and he was like, it was really cool. He's like, if I go to Burning Man, I'll definitely do that again. Yeah. So it was cool. I don't think he got into it like how I did, you know, I want to be a part of Gate, you know, I want to do this Gate thing, and but I definitely encourage more people to, like, you know, sign up, go out and work, because honestly, you'll see another side of Burning Man. You can only speculate what it's like, you know.
Yeah, what you just described right now, that's the thing I've had many of these conversations with people. I think a lot of people out there, while Bob and I were out there with you, we were just like, this is fucking crazy. Like, look where we are right now. Like, we're on top of the watchtower, like looking out at the road. Like, it's crazy that we get to experience this. And there's people around the world that are like literally daydreaming about someday being able to go to Burning Man.
Yeah.
And we get to like walk around at this level, and we're like friends with people that are working at this level, like putting this amazing thing together, like yourself. Like, and it's amazing that we're having that experience. And that was when it was really hitting me the hardest, that like the average person really does think that it's unattainable. They're like, no way, you got to know people that know people. Like, no, like you can come in and volunteer a couple of shifts and get this whole experience.
And like I said, we have 700 volunteers for it.
Yeah.
And now they're not 700 people that are working 8 hours a day every day of the week. It's not like that. There's only there's maybe like 50 people that are working like real full-time type shit out there.
Yeah.
Out of the 700.
What's the best kind of volunteer job for a person who's never volunteered before? What would you recommend?
Go work the lanes, man. The lanes, you get to meet so many cool people, and honestly, it's fun, dude. It's a lot of fun to work in the lanes, because I mean,
and that's where like you go into the
RVs
and stuff.
yeah, you're looking at all the RVs for stowaways and whatnot. I mean, but
fucking around with people, you're joking.
It's crazy because Gate used to have this. They used to be like have that reputation that DPW has, you know, like, oh, they're a bunch of dicks, you know. And honestly, a lot of people still will say Gate's a bunch of dicks, you know, because they've had bad happenings coming through the gate.
Yeah.
Well, it's Gate's job to kind of be like the law out there, you know. It's like it's the closest thing to security. It's the closest thing to law enforcement without being law enforcement. It's the close, you know. They're the ones who it's their last line of defense before anything bad can happen to go in that we have control over.
Yeah.
You know, after that, it's law enforcement.
Yeah.
So, but the coolest part is, you know, like, even though they used to have that reputation of us being a bunch of dicks, it's being fun when I don't want to call us greeters because anybody in Gate Department might smack me in the head for calling us greeters, but you're the first people that, you know, that people are coming to, and they've been driving for how many hours and waiting in that long ass line, or, you know, whatever, if they got rained in and had to sit on the road for 12 hours, you know, whatever. You're the first people they're seeing from Burning Man, and they want to be like welcomed.
Yeah.
They're not asking for a hug. They don't need to go lay in the dirt and do dust angels with you, but they want to be like, am I here? I'm here.
Yeah.
Point me in the right direction, please. You know, and so instead of being, hey, dick, you don't have your fucking ticket in your hand, now it's like, hey, do you have your ticket?
No.
Hey, how you doing today? Great, good to see you. You know, hey, do you have any firearms, stowaways, pets, anything like that in your car? I don't have to kick you out.
Yeah.
You know, last thing you want to do. So you go into it with a little different attitude instead of being a dick, but you're doing the same thing.
Yeah. You really do have the power to fuck somebody's burn.
Yeah, really. Because
they can come in with that attitude.
I mean, we've been accused of fucking many people's burn. No, we did not. You fucked your own burn. Because it's, I mean, if you're going to make this kind of trip, it's like going to Europe going, fuck, I didn't know I was supposed to bring my passport.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, dude, there's certain things you got to know before you go do things. And I definitely feel that Burning Man is, you know, the Gate Department is a great place to start because you're meeting everybody. Yeah. Now, some people want to do the greeter thing, and, you know, honestly, I would never work greeters.
Why?
Do you see? I don't think they see more than 10 feet in front of them with all the dust that they have at there, because they don't have. They're like the end of the road where all the traffic's coming, and the dust comes that way.
Yeah.
So they're just getting bombarded. You know, I mean, it would be fun if it wasn't such a shitty spot. Like, dude, that's just not how I would want to do it. I think Gate should come in the backside. You know, I mean, there's no dust for everybody.
Let me ask you this. Sort of wrapping it up over here. If you is there something that you've seen over and over, or at least enough times, where it was like a piece of advice that you want to give people that like you could just say to a microphone, like, come on guys, like this is get your shit together on this one thing? What would it be?
Gate wise, Burning Man wise?
Sure, trying to get in. You know what? Both. Let's do like just trying to get in there. Like, what is like something like, come on guys, get your fucking shit together. How is this one thing still comes up over and over with people attending Burning Man? And if they just fix this one thing, you'll make everybody's lives easier. You'll make your own life easier.
It's going to sound silly, but it's only because I'm Gate Road supervisor, and I've got the experience with the gate. I wish people would slow the fuck down on the road. I'm telling you, It's a major cause of the dust that goes on the. People don't realize it. This year was dust madness, and a big part of it was because we weren't able to get enough water down on the ground on the area of the road that we normally do because of our flags didn't come in on time, so they had the road closed. But either way, it's the traffic that comes through. That when people are hauling ass down the road, that's my other big complaint was when I was saying BLM. I wish they would do more protect and serve rather than look for the big drug bust.
Yeah.
How about don't let anybody speed? Start ticketing the shit out of people for speeding on this road, because
People
that
are under the
road,
impression that they do though, don't they? Do they not?
they do at times, but I mean they're focused on the drugs. They're not looking for. I mean, I could sit out there in my truck for 15 minutes and probably yell on the top of my lungs, "Slow the fuck down!" Every 2 cars. Every 2 cars, because everybody's in a hurry when they get there. But all that
Nobody's ever driven that slow before.
All that, and then after you've been driving that long time, once you go 5 miles an hour, you feel like, oh my god, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But seriously, it causes a big problem with the event. It's major dust issues. It ruins the footprint of the road. It's very unsafe. We had major car damages this year because of the dust. You know, people were running into those T-stakes in the ground. Those things would destroy somebody's car pretty good. You know, somebody can get hurt. People were running into other cars. It was really bad this year. And you can say, oh, it's the wind. But honestly, we had wind like that when there was nobody out there. It's the traffic that brings all the dust. And believe it or not, if people were just to slow down enough, you would probably see at least a 25% decrease in the amount of dust out there.
Wow.
It's insane. I mean, just slow down. But when everyone's hauling ass and everybody gets that dust going and it gets lifted up and it chews that road up to where it makes it super silty, any wind that happens is just going to whoosh, go away.
Wow.
I just think if people just, like, when you get there, look at an extra half an hour out of all that shit you've been driving, isn't going to make you, you're not going to miss it.
Yeah.
It's going to make your event better if everybody can just slow down a little bit. I'm tired of yelling. My lungs, my throat's gone by after a few days of the burn, and it's always the same thing. Just slow down. Don't be stupid. Just because you're out on the playa doesn't mean rules are off now. I can just be an idiot and drive like a crazy man. Like, I don't have to be cool until I get into the party.
Yeah.
Like, listen, those 10 principles that we have, they should go try to do your best to live them year round, not just once you get past the gate. Once you get off that highway, like, you're representing us as a community. So
you absolutely are.
You know, so I definitely hope that, like, you know, people just start realizing that, like, you know, Gate's not a bunch of dicks, not telling you how not to party or how to do things. There's a reason behind everything. You know, it's like, slow down, please, just slow down.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, that's just because I've seen it, and that's my side of it. I just wish people would slow down on the road and make the event a little bit less dusty, but it also show a lot more respect for the people that are working out there, because it's dangerous. You know, we're out there moving cones, and people are flying by us. I'm like, dude, you don't see me standing here?
Yeah.
You know, hello.
Yeah.
And you just dusted us out too, not on top of that, but you got really close to just, like, we are working here.
Yeah.
So there's that. You know, the cones. You know, people sometimes, there was a group that there was some controversy on through Burning Man for one of the groups that got asked not to come back to Burning Man this year, apparently, or not placed.
One of the camps?
One of the sound camps, yeah. They were even at Utopia one year, but they were told not to come back because they were assholes, and they were like, oh, let's have fun. Let's knock over every single cone that we can on the road.
Really?
They were deliberately driving up and down the road, knocking over cones, and then posted about it, how funny they thought that was. And I'm like, so you're a dick.
Yeah.
Okay. Why would we want you at this event?
Yeah.
You're not a part of this community. You're definitely not, if you're just doing it to show off your big sound system or how much your DJs or whatever, it's like, that's not what this is about.
That sucks.
Like, if you can't show respect for the community, you know, year round, you shouldn't be coming to this event.
Yeah.
You know, that's the problem. That's like the bucket list thing. Like, look at something you want to do. Go to your regional, get involved, work your way up to go to Burning Man, so you're getting the most out of it that you could possibly get out of it.
I think what you said about you are representing us after you leave these gates, like, that's huge. That's huge. I think just even wording it like that is something.
When you drive through the town, you represent
about.
us.
Yeah.
You go through Gerlach, people think, oh, I can be a dick because I'm not at Burning Man. I can do whatever. Like,
When I'm
you
telling,
represent us so much from Reno all the way. When you get pulled over in, people were complaining they got pulled over in Walker. I'm like, because if you got a bunch of shit in your car you shouldn't have, and you got a big thing on, big Burning Man symbol painted on the side of your truck. I'm like, you're asking for a target.
Totally.
And then you're going to make the target, because you're a target and you have these things, you're making our community.
It would make some of my conversations with like friends and family easier, because like all day their frame of reference is like some other, douchebag quote unquote burner, because I called himself a burner.
Right.
But yeah,
they were going
that
to
resonates.
Man.
Yes. Yeah. No, that totally resonates. That totally resonates. What's next for you on a personal level? Any big plans in the coming year?
Just trying to get my personal business. I run my own edible landscaping and permaculture business throughout the year that keeps me busy. Just focus on that more, and I'll probably be doing a lot of festivals, because I still work security with High Rock Security, and they're, like I said, they're a big Burning Man part of. So I'll be doing a bunch of festivals again this year.
Awesome.
Hopefully moving up, getting a promotion at Burning Man. If not, I'm still content with doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Just kind of keep fine-tuning everything and wait for the next awesome opportunity. Get ready for Utopia next year and do it all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when I'm at that age now where I'm not trying to find too many new things. I'm trying to fine tune.
Yeah.
The things that I got. So
less of a Gatling gun and more of a sniper rifle.
Yeah. Just get better at it. Make my life easier doing it. So.
Well, I can say on behalf of all of us, thank you for all the work that you do and everything you put in to put together these events that we get to go and enjoy and have these amazing spiritual experiences and powerful connections we make because of all the sacrifices that you guys make. So I want to thank you for that.
I appreciate it. I give what I get, trust me. So I have a good time. I appreciate it.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks, Arash.
All right. You can tweet me directly at tweet at Mr. Arash. And when discussing the show, please do use the hashtag #BurnerPodcast. You can also catch me on the Crappy Awesome podcast. It is a weekly interview show and staple in the independent hip-hop community for the past 4 years and 200 plus episodes. The last interview that we just recorded actually, was with the West Coast Avengers, kind of a nerdcore hip-hop group who apparently is active in the Rainbow Gathering. That was an interesting surprise, and really enjoyed that conversation. You can find that over at platformcollection.com or crappyawesome.com. This show, Burner Podcast, is up on Libsyn and SoundCloud first. Libsyn is the broadcasting platform, blah, 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 blah. Then it gets onto iTunes and Stitcher and TuneIn.com. Anyway, just go to burnerpodcast.com and all those links are on there. Leave us some reviews on iTunes. We would really, really appreciate that, and it helps more burners around the world find this show if there's more attention being paid to it on the iTunes page. Our intermission music is by Duckman. Check out his music at duckmansd.bandcamp.com. And if you're a musician in the community, tweet our music editor, Navjeet. He is on Twitter at IamNavjeet. Send him some shit. He might play it on our SoundCloud page, or share it, or whatever. The Burner Podcast theme song is America's Horse With No Name remix, produced by Joman. Check out his stuff at soundcloud.com/DJ Joman. This episode is produced by Meg King. If you have any questions or suggestions for future guests, tweet them over to @ThatMegKing. Our online editor is Tanasi. He writes and curates the blog. You can reach him by shooting him a message on burnerpodcast.com through the contact page that's under About. Hope you'll join us next time. We do release new episodes on the first and third Wednesdays of the month. So until next time, love and light and all that other crap. Good night.